Hey guys, welcome back to Digital Pen Pals.
Hi.
How are you guys doing? Um, this week marks 10 weeks of us making podcasts.
10
How insane is
weeks.
that?
It's crazy. By the way, I'm Tux, and then I've got Zach here with us.
Oh yes, hi, my name is Zach. Me and Lincoln are both streamers, content creators, and upfront, and most importantly, we're artists.
Yes,
And
sir.
this podcast is designed to help other artists kind of figure out things um, as alongside us as we're trying to figure those things out, as trying to make art a professional and legitimate career for ourselves. And just those who generally want to get better at art, that's what we're here for.
So before we get into the meat and the fun part of the podcast, we have a few exciting things to talk about. Zach, what have we been working on recently? I think we mentioned it in our last few videos. We kind of teased it, but
Yeah,
we're
we've
just about
definitely been
finished.
teasing it for a while. Um, so we've been working on some other projects. The one project we've been working on has been an actual video for the podcast. Aside from us doing these, little animated slash audio recordings, we're actually working on a video, and we've had a lot of fun with it. It's kind of the opening to a kind of a new chapter for the channel here on YouTube. And so it's something that's only going to be available through YouTube. So if you're listening on Spotify and stuff, you might want to check out the link in the description to the podcast channel on YouTube and be sure to subscribe to that because that's where we're going to be releasing these videos. But we're kind of looking at a different um, I mean, it's nothing to change how we're doing the podcast, but it's just something extra to the channel that's gonna be included with everything that we're doing.
Yeah, we wanna try and turn this channel into something more than just two random dudes talking about random art stuff. So we have like some fun videos prepared, and that's kind of what the first one's gonna be. Just kind of something to break the ice with the videos because we do have informative and like here's something we did kind of videos, but we didn't want to really do that for our first one because it would be like, oh, well, I guess they're doing stuff. We kind of wanted to do some sort of skit, some fun thing. So it's about like what 3 to 4 minutes right now.
Yeah, right now it's about that length,
We have
and
the rough
yeah, we
cut
just
done.
want to kind of like kind of feel like it kind of fits into the channel where it kind of slowly, gradually goes into that. So it kind of it shows it as part of the channel, but not that it's anything to replace anything, but just to add to everything that's already going on. And so in these videos too, it's like for the podcast, it's been really fun. It's been a little bit more serious most of the time talking about these things, and interviewing other artists has been really fun. But we also want to take time to just have fun for ourselves because something that me and Lincoln want to do a lot more is making videos because that's sort of the end goal for everything that we're doing is basically making like video kind of content. And so it's a lot of fun for us to experiment because working together on something has been awesome. Just alone with this first video, I think has really been an eye opener to the power of like working together and the amount of creative things that we can do with that. And so I'm just excited for us to get a lot of this practice in. So that way, whenever we make videos like individually on our own channels or whatever, that the stuff that we're learning here is gonna translate to what we're doing, elsewhere. And so I think that's something that's powerful that's happening with the channel for us personally is the ability to like be creative and like learn all of these things that would otherwise kind of like be harder on our own, I guess, if that makes sense. I
Yeah,
don't know how
it's
you
gonna
feel about
be
it, but
very epic and very great, and I'm so hyped.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, lately though, me and Lincoln have been a little sidetracked, a little distracted from everything that we've been doing. Do you want to tell him why, Lincoln?
Yeah, so we both have 3D printers, right? And we've just got them. I got mine in December. Zach, I think you got yours in January, right?
Something like that. It was like
Like
about a month apart that I got mine.
yeah, so we both got 3D printers, and we've been having fun joining the 3D printing adventures, and making fun stuff. And he was working on a Mandalorian helmet, and I was also working on a Mandalorian helmet, the second one that I made.
This is the way.
This is the way. But simultaneously, both of our 3D printers just kind of like got busted, and so we have been problem solving them and troubleshooting them all like the past week, just the past week, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been kind of frustrating, and that inspired kind of the theme of our video today, which is troubleshooting.
Yeah, and so just like our 3D printer problems, um, we kind of had to troubleshoot it a bunch of different ways. We tried fixing other things that we thought were related, but ended up not being related to the issues that we were having.
I
And it,
replaced like so many
ironically, I
parts on
think,
mine, and it didn't solve the issue. But then Zach figured out the issue.
yeah. So luckily, I have a friend who he's very, very smart. Shout out to Ethan out there. He was the one that helped me figure out, or just give me the idea of like, oh, this is probably what's going wrong. Um, and thanks to that, I was able to troubleshoot that problem. And I realized because I thought Lincoln's issues were different, but then I asked him what it were, was it what it was like, probably like what a good hour ago,
Yeah.
and you described it, and I was like, you know what? I bet it's the same issue. I bet if you do this, you're gonna find that this is going wrong. And sure enough, you found the same issue. And so I think it's ironic because I thought both our problems were different, but they ended up being the same solution to the same problem. And so something that I learned in school a lot, and that was kind of pushed into our minds, was as artists, you're not you're an artist, but more your job title description, especially if you're working for somebody or even on your own, you are a problem solver. And that means that you are creative, you are innovative, you know how to troubleshoot problems. So if you're having issues drawing or using a certain program for drawing or art, there you're very resourceful in the fact that you're able to kind of backtrack things, try new things, because as creative people, we're not very like one-minded. We don't just try one way and then are satisfied. We try multiple ways. So we're a little bit more adaptive to trying different solutions to problems. And so, especially in the working world as a career, usually when you're hired as an artist, you're hired as a problem solver. So say like especially with me and Lincoln's career right now and in our day job, we are basically given chances to, hey, make a video about this, right, or something of the equivalent, right, and or be creative and do something with this in mind or this topic, and we have the liberty to do that, which can be terrifying, but we don't have anybody else to ask like how do you do that or what should I we have to kind of come up with sort of an idea, and then based off that idea we run into so many problems with programs or with just creative issues in general, and so we have to troubleshoot those problems. And a lot of the stuff that me and Lincoln have learned through like video editing and photo editing, all sorts of things, we've learned mostly online, and that's been like a godsend. So this is something that the stuff that we're doing is something that anyone can do. You just have to basically find your resources in order to overcome those problems, or if you don't know how to do something, learn how to do it. If you want to do something and it involves video, well, I got to learn how to edit, and so you can slowly start to build up your skills. And so as artists, we're problem solvers. Short take.
Yeah, and it's sometimes really fun, like solving problems. Like, it kind of feels like in a video game when you unlock a new skill.
Yeah,
Like when you're learning art.
achievement unlocked.
Yeah. So like growing up, I always just like I didn't really look much for instruction with art, and that's why I think it's really important to actively search out instruction for art, whether that's like other artists that have like walked the path, or like schooling or books or the internet or what have you. But like when you have like instruction with art, when you like try the instructions out and you're having a hard time with it and you're going and you keep doing it and you keep doing it, like for me at least, I have a it clicks moment where I'm like, oh shoot, that's how I draw heads better, like what the heck. And now I feel like it's like achievement unlocked, like it's a new power up that I have, and it's so crazy every time like that happens, because I feel like, oh, it's never gonna happen again, like, then it just happens, and it's so crazy when and you encounter that by facing problems and trying to problem solve and be like, oh, I have this missing from my skill set, or oh, I'm trying to draw a person, so I should probably learn how to draw a head.
Right. Yeah, I think
It's like
like
one
the
of the most rewarding
biggest
feelings.
thing, it's kind of like with the the hardship of problems is the only way to learn, because if you're not presented with problems, you're never going to learn anything. So that's why in school, like they can only teach you so much, and then you go into the real world and you start to see the places where you're like, oh, I learned how to do this, but now how do I apply it? So just because you learn something, how to draw heads or something, like how are you going to translate that into drawing? Say for me, like we draw like cartoons, right? So how am I going to translate this realistic drawing into like what I do with cartoons? And that kind of is something that you have to face, and I know a lot of people have to go through problems like that where they're like, okay, well, how does drawing realistically associate with me drawing in like my specific art style or something? And that's something that each person has to figure out for themselves. There are useful fundamental things that you can implement into your artwork. I use a lot of anatomy and stuff to help build more volume into characters. But for each person, it's a little bit different, based on their styles. But um, yeah, I just know a lot of artists have problems trying to like fix those kind of issues. And yeah, but Lincoln, what kind of problems do you have?
So we were talking about this a little earlier. One of my biggest problems as an artist is finding good reference images. Say I want to draw like somebody sitting on a chair in a specific position, or like somebody doing an action shot in a specific position, and I can't find it online, and I look and I look and I look on all sorts of referencing websites and just Google Images and looking at stuff from like movies and shows and everything. I just can't find it. But you showed me a very cool tool to get my own references that are completely customizable, and it's one of the most powerful tools you can ever add to your arsenal. And I think most people out there have that tool already. Would you like to tell them what that tool is, Zach?
Yes. Like you said, this device is amazing. It literally can solve a lot of problems for you. And, it's fully customizable. And that is your cell phone camera.
Yes, sir. The cell phone camera.
Dramatic pause.
You could use
Dun dun dun.
you could literally take advantage of like your camera to get reference pictures for literally anything. Like you can just set your phone down, set it on like a timer, or get a friend to help you take the picture, and you do the pose you want for your character, and you can do it. And say you're the wrong height for your character, well, you just adjust those proportions later. You can use some sort of squish tool or what have you. And then you could even ask like a friend. Say like a friend has like the body type for a character you want. You say, hey, this might sound weird, but I want to draw this character in this specific pose. Can you help me? And
Yeah.
whether or not they say yes, I guess is up to you to see. But it's also something that will help you out a lot. Like, because personally, I know me, I'm taller and a lot lankier, so it's gonna be harder for me to do reference images for a very bulky character. That's like a strong or like larger character.
Right. And yeah, just to like back that up too, it's nothing that's unusual or like janky sounding, because a lot of when you're in school or whatever, or sometimes certain animation studios, they also have like live models and things like that, and so they get to use those. Um, but it's something that we did in school where if we didn't, we use the models and we'd be like, hey, like there's a certain body type that we're looking for, or we need a man and a woman or something for this pose. Like we did like a Tarzan pose or things like that. Or one week we did a pose where we would do different. They had props and stuff, and we would dress them up and do like a sci-fi kind of like action pose. And so we do stuff like that. And so it's not out of the ordinary to use yourself as your own reference image, because there are some times where we're in school and we just don't have, at the time we don't have access to the models, and so we just have to go out and ask other art friends, and they would totally understand, because they're like, hey, like I was wondering if you could model for me for a character I'm trying to design, or like an illustration I'm trying to do. And it was totally normal to be like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, let me just like grab a sword over here. Like everyone was like super chill about it, and that was really fun. And so yeah, it's definitely not unusual for artists to do that. So I mean, when you're doing it, don't feel like it's like some sort of weird like thing that professionals don't do, but they actually do. So don't feel weirded out. And I think the best way that I found how to do it is you can set on your timer and stuff, but you might not get the image that you want. So I think the best way to do that is if you just turn on your video recorder and you just hit record, and then get in front of the camera and do a few poses. And you can then later, after you finish that recording, scrub through it and screenshot the poses that you like out of all of those poses you did. And I think that's the most efficient way to do it.
Yeah, I know one thing that I've like that's helped me improve art as far as like referencing goes is like sometimes I'll just be looking for a reference and I'll just get fed up, like I said, and then I'll just start drawing, and then I'll just be drawing from memory. But I've found like drawing from like real life is actually crazily overpowered. Like I don't know, like this is common knowledge to anybody who's gone to any sort of art school, but to people that are kind of self-taught, like maybe this is something you haven't learned. Like drawing from reality is very it's a good exercise to do. And even just like mundane objects is like really good for understanding like perspective and like volume, and you can even use those to base on like other things. So like I saw this one guy on the internet, he was taking just like mundane objects and turning them into spaceships, and basically he would put the have you seen that, Zach?
Potentially, I think. I feel like I've seen something similar to that.
Yeah, but basically he would just like take pictures. He had one for like a Sharpie, he had one for like um a, a soda can, and he would just like do them as like spaceships or like cars or what have you, and they all turned out like super great. And you could do that too. So like you could take like a soda can and do, for example, like a building or like a spaceship, or you can take like I have this like SD card thing right next to me, like that would make a really cool picture. Maybe I'll do that as an exercise. But it's like super crazy that you can just take things from real life and just use them. Like it's not tracing, it's not whatever. It's allowed.
Right.
It's allowed.
And and just think about it. I don't know if you remember the whole movie series of The Brave Little Toaster. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you remember that show, or if you haven't seen it, look it up. That kind of goes with what we're talking about. I mean, you can imagine, like, well, drawing mundane objects is dumb. Like, I want to do this or I want to do that. But if you think about it, like, just like Lincoln was describing, you can turn those into whole little, like, personalized and personality-filled characters, just like that the Brave Little Toaster did, right? And it's based around mundane objects. It's kind of like Toy Story but with mundane objects. And so yeah, like drawing just random objects is important. Like I know I was really annoyed when I had to do it in school because I was like, this is boring, like this is dumb. But you start to learn a lot of different things about learning how to draw in perspective, understanding like volume and material, how like certain, if it's metal, how it shines, how it reflects light, other things like that that's useful information for future stuff that you're going to be doing. And so that's why I think fundamentals are super OP, because you need them in order to do the creative things that you want to do. Because there's this thing that goes around where, especially growing up, I was like, wow, how do people just draw from their imagination? Like, that's crazy. They're so creative and imaginative. But the reality of it is, there's a thing called a visual library, which I feel like I've mentioned before in a past podcast at some point. And this visual library, they used to have back in the day where they would have like my old professors would have mentioned that using this visual library at the actual library, they would have like pictures and images of things, right? And so you could actually go through their photos and select stuff, and you basically would start to collect those things into like some sort of library. You would like even for collecting purposes, that is, because you can't really collect from the library, but they would like snip stuff from books or from magazines, and they'd slowly start to create this whole like file cabinet full of just like categorized images that they could turn back to and use as reference images later on. So like really drawing from your imagination is actually being creative and combining different things into a new thing. And so drawing from your imagination actually is, the stuff you've drawn before or seen before in your life, and you're just kind of simply memorizing how it works, how it's structured, so you can start to actually draw in any position that you want as you draw the same objects over and over again. And so that's, I think, is super important, that you actually don't really draw from imagination. What you do creatively is taking the things and that you've drawn before and turning them into something new.
Mm-hmm. So one other problem and like solution that I found recently from problem solving is like being inspired. Zach made a pretty cool TikTok about this the other day, where he was like talking about like things to get you inspired. And I don't know if you mentioned it in the video or if I learned it from somewhere else, but these things that I discovered called like vision boards or dream boards, they're super cool. Do you know about them, Zach?
I think I've heard of them before, and no, I don't think I talked about that in my video.
Okay, but basically, they're like a collage of image, pictures, and affirmations of one's dreams and desires, designed to serve like a source of inspiration and motivation. That definition's from Google, by the way. That's not from my brain. But they're super cool because you basically just take like a blank document, whether that's like a Word document, a physical piece of paper, um, or like a Photoshop document, or like whatever program you use, and you just like paste on like, hey, here's the stuff I like. So it's like, say you're into like shonen anime, like action anime, put like all your favorite action scenes on one thing, and then you put like words on it, like words of affirmation, like I will be able to draw at this point, like in this many years, or it's like, hey, I'll reach this point, or like work on this every single day. And like for me, that's putting together like a bunch of like cool scenes with lighting. Like I started one, but I didn't quite finish it, and it had a lot of like Fire Emblem stuff on it, like character design stuff, because that's what I like is character design. Um, but it's like it's a really motivating exercise to keep you like, hey, this is what I want to achieve. I want to get to this point and even surpass this point. And so it's something that you can have that's physical, that you can set as either your wallpaper, your phone screensaver, or like you could print it out and put it on a wall. And it's just like a really cool thing. And Zach, I think you were telling me like Pinterest, like your Pinterest board is kind of like that.
Oh yeah. So like, yeah, the vision board like that that kind of feels like a goal vision board as well. And so I think similarly, like Pinterest is definitely a solid tool for this kind of thing to do. So you can both create Pinterest boards. Like, I mean, most people know about Pinterest. You can create boards, which is collections of different images or other things that you find on the internet, really. And so Pinterest is really good for artists because there are so many pins of different artworks and art styles and different techniques and different tutorials. And so you can start to categorize these into different boards. And what I've done is I've created an artboard that's more for inspirational purposes. And sometimes for me to like, I'll copy certain images that I really like to try to dissect it and figure out what makes this good, or how would I go about making these colors work. And so I would kind of use it as like a master study kind of tool. But I've created a board called Art Styles I Love. And for me, that's like, I have like over 1,000 pins in that thing. I've been curating it for a couple years now, and it's awesome. Like it's great. I love it. I go to it when I feel like not very inspired, or I feel like, oh, man, I just can't think of what else to do. And so I'll look through there and think and look at these images, and I'm like, wow, this is the kind of style, or this is the kind of things that there's in each of the pins. There's something about it that I like. And so I try to go back and try to remember, why did I like this one? Oh yeah, it's because of this or that. And so that's really helpful. And I have other boards that are like human anatomy. So there's a lot of like drawing life stuff in one of my boards. Yeah, I don't know if you have Pinterest as well, Lincoln, or not.
I have never been on Pinterest.
Really? Okay. Well, in that case, for now, I will just give you my links down probably in the description or something. There will probably be like a Pinterest section.
Just add it
You
to
can
your
click on
streamer
that,
links.
check out the boards. Oh, what was that?
Add it to your streamer links. You could add it to your streamer links, and you can make a video about it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, so just click on my streamer link then and click on Pinterest boards or something. It'll take you there, I guess. So you can kind of see the kind of things that I do. Some of them are kind of crazy. Some of the boards aren't really relevant. They're just like memes or something. But you can look at the more curated ones and kind of decipher what's going on, and you can kind of make your own board, or even just, follow the board if you'd like, and just use that board for your own reference. That's totally fine. But yeah, for me, Pinterest has been like really powerful. And especially because sometimes we get into the mode of like scrolling, right? And so sometimes I find my time more utilized correctly if I'm like, all right, I'm just going to scroll through Pinterest for a few minutes and see if there's any like interesting pins that it's trying to recommend me for art styles, because it'll suggest things for once you start creating boards, it'll start suggesting different pins for those boards. And so it'll be like art styles I love. Oh, click on that one. Those are suggested content. Oh, or like drawing life. That's another suggested curated like basically like a For You page, but for Pinterest kind of thing. And so you can go through there and it'll start to read and understand what kind of things you like,
And just
and
give you
it'll
more.
get similar images, which is really helpful.
Well, that's super helpful. I think I'm gonna hop on Pinterest after this call and
Oh yeah.
find some stuff.
Yeah. It's really helpful, but yeah, you can also be on there for, it's just like anything. You could be on there for hours.
Yeah. So, as with anything, it's good in moderation.
Yeah,
Well, so we have
that's for
like
sure.
one more resource for troubleshooting for y'all, and this is the most powerful resource, arguably, on the planet currently. And you are using that resource right now, and that resource is the internet.
Ah, yes, the internet. It is the void in which anything and everything can go.
You can
It is literally
you can
a nightmare if used incorrectly, and it's a blessing if used correctly.
The internet is
Um,
amazing for artists. It
yeah,
has changed and will change art forever, and I think there's so much more potential the internet has to do, or has with artists as far as learning and learning resources. And I have a few ideas for a few cool things, but use the internet, guys. You can literally put any question into Google, anything. Um, like for example, my one college course of art that I did, I did three different courses, but two of them weren't really teachers. They just gave us a book and they said here. Um, but my one art course that I did was really awesome. It was basically drawing one, and so we were learning like perspective and all that fun stuff. And I literally Googled on the internet like basically whatever the title of our lesson was, and I was just like learning perspective, and I got a YouTube video, like a comprehensive YouTube video that was like hours long, but it was the same exact stuff I had learned in my class, and it was like the same exact amount of time. And I watched that video and I'm like, wait, this is exactly what was taught in my class, and I spent so much money to take this class. Of course, with a class, you get an instructor showing you what to do and where to do it, but sometimes with online teaching now you don't quite have that. And you could have the same thing just by reaching out to an artist that you like or an artist friend and saying, hey, I'm trying to learn perspective. Can you give me some advice here? And I learned like the same exact stuff on there, and I even found a great website. It's called drawbox.com. It's super fantastic. I don't know if you've heard of that, Zach. Have you heard of that?
what is
So
that?
drawbox.com. So okay, actually, this is the Easter egg, the secret resource, the fourth resource. Drawbox.com is super fantastic. It started as a subreddit, basically like an internet forum on the website Reddit, and it's dedicated to like learning art from the basics. And it's like super comprehensive, and it has like assignments. It has like so much stuff, and it basically just has like from point A to point B, and it's all free. I think there's some sort of subscription to get like more stuff and like feedback, but they have like a Discord server too where you can ask for feedback on the assignments, and you can like post the assignments, and it like tells you, hey, this is what you need to do like for this week. And it's like super awesome, and it's like I was looking through it, it's literally what I was getting taught in my college course. It's completely
That's
free online.
fantastic.
Yeah, let me make sure I have the site name correctly, because if I'm giving you guys the wrong site name,
We'll probably link it below, I'm sure, in the description, right?
Drawbox. I'm Drawbox. I just gotta make sure. Yeah, so drawbox.com. Start your journey today. Anyone can learn to draw. It's not some magical talent a few people are born with. It's a skill you can train. We can help. No, it's super incredible. They have 7,500 people in their Discord,
Wow.
and it's insane. And they have so many free lessons all over the place, and it's super fantastic. I would recommend Drawbox. I was doing Drawbox courses earlier this year, and I need to hop back on it because I forgot how powerful this website is. But they have like frequently asked questions, they have like a subscription, they have lessons, articles, comics, like everything. This website is incredible.
Dang.
But back to the internet.
How
Oh, what was that?
how long was it? How long ago was that website made? Do you know?
Let me
Was it just a few
see.
years ago, or was it like even longer in development?
Drawbox start.
That's
It's
interesting.
been
I wish I would have
around-
known about that way earlier before I even went to school.
So it started
Hint,
out-
hint,
okay, so
guys, you
here's-
should probably check it out.
Here's a little history lesson that I totally know from my brain. No, I just Googled when did Drawbox start. So Drawbox started off as Reddit/Art Fundamentals. Back in August 2014, it gradually expanded into Drawbox.com in March 2015 as a response to members of the community wanting to give something back. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I started school in 2017, so Wow, I could have taken advantage of that at
Oh, it's
before
it's
that.
fantastic, and I'd even say as a learned artist or somebody who's self taught and they're like pretty successful or pretty like solid in it, like it's a very good. I wouldn't say like hard replacement or substitute for like actual in class learning, but it's a pretty good comprehensive guide to what you may have missed in school. And
Right.
it's just super incredible. But it's like it is aimed at beginners. It takes you from point zero to beyond, and then it has a bunch of different lessons and such. It's seriously
That's way cool.
an awesome website. Go check it out, guys. But back to the internet. The internet is powerful. If you have any questions about art, you can Google it. So that's like kind of how I discovered Dropbox. Is I just Googled like how to do perspective, like just drawing, and I found like just the lessons that I learned in my college class. Like you want to learn to draw perspective? Boom, Google it. Hands? Google it. Want to make your line art more clean? Google it. Like just Google, just use keywords. So if you're working in Photoshop, you say how to draw Photoshop clean line art, and there'll be thousands of answers, and it's really awesome. And I would, if I were you, I would take advantage of the internet. And I know I have definitely taken advantage of the internet as a self-taught and self-learning artist, and always ongoing.
Right. Yeah, I think what's interesting too is if like, I mean, a little history dip right now, but if you think about the Renaissance, right? And how like cuz we studied it in school like with art history cuz it was one of the required ones. I didn't like it, but I liked some of the things I learned in it. But one of those was talking about the Renaissance and how that worked in like pushing like art and creativity and innovation forward, because it wasn't just about art, it was also about inventions and things like that, right? And different things. It's basically like the World's Fair kind of a thing, but way back in the day. And so with art in this case scenario, um, there were a lot of artists that were sharing their artwork that otherwise would never have been seen, right? And they were showing different techniques and different styles that had never been seen before. And so this started to basically inspire other people to follow suit and to be more innovative and to also mimic similar styles. And so I think that's what's been happening too with the internet is because we have access to seeing a lot of images and artwork so much more often than we were before. It's really influencing and improving a lot of people very quickly. Because I know for me, especially like looking through Pinterest and seeing things online, I've gotten a lot of exposure to those things, and it's really helped push and excel my artwork because I'm like, whatever that is, I want my art to be similar to that, and I need to figure out how that works. And then sometimes those artists that you like actually have tutorials, or they show like a time lapse video of them working on it, and you kind of figure out, oh, that's how they made it. Like I could just layer things like this in digital artwork or something. And so I think for us, like Google being so influential is just monumental. Like it's night and day difference between if we didn't have it, we wouldn't have the exposure or the ability to look these things up, and we would just be drawing what we think looks cool or something. But we could actually have better artwork because we can be influenced by other art, and so or other things. There's other forms of artwork too that can be inspiring. Like I said in my Lincoln mentioned my video I made. If you ever get art blocked or whatever, take inspiration from other things. If you have a TV show or something you like, that can be inspirational. It can inspire you to make different kinds of artwork. And so, yeah, basically, we're living in a sort of internet type renaissance that's like driving people to be competitive, but in a good way. And it's pushing everybody to get better, like way quicker than would probably be normal on our own.
The new renaissance. The renaissance of
The new
the internet
renaissance.
age.
The artisans.
The renaissance. But yeah, the internet is just gonna push the world as far as art goes, just so incredibly more. Because so many people who wouldn't have had the resources before are going to have access to those resources, and so as an artist, you should be taking advantage of that. So do everything you can to become a better artist every single day.
Yeah, amen to that. But yeah, I think that that's kind of our main message is to just take advantage of the things you have, because we can get down on ourselves a lot for feeling like we're not good enough, or we feel like we're just not to the level that we thought we would be. Like me, I went to school thinking I'd come out the other end feeling like I was like on top of the world, but still I'm like, I'm not on top of the world. There's still so much to learn. And I'm so like happy and blessed to have the internet, because I have the ability to, go back and review basic things that maybe I forgot about, or there's something that I didn't learn, or there's different techniques that I never got to experience in school, because there's only so much time and only so many classes you can take, and you just can't learn it all in 4 years, let alone maybe even a lifetime. And so utilize your resources, utilize yourself as your own model. Use video, use photos, and let yourself learn.
Yes. And
Indeed.
I think that covers it for troubleshooting. We will see you guys next week. Thank you so much, as always, for listening and watching. You can find us on our Twitch accounts, on our YouTube accounts, everywhere. We'll put those links in the description. Both of us like to do art live on Twitch, which is super fun. I like to draw little cute slimes and Pokemon and such. And Zach does cooler stuff.
No, I just do different stuff. We both draw interesting, weird stuff.
But thank you so much for listening once again, and we'll see you guys next week. And be on the lookout for that Digital Pen Pals podcast first video. Do you have anything else to say, Zach?
Oh yeah. Nope. Just thank you guys for sticking with us for 10 weeks so far, and we look forward to another 10 weeks and another 10 weeks.
And thank you so much to the Spotify listeners and the Apple Music listeners and the YouTube listeners. But thank you for those that are listening on the other platforms, because I know our primary platform is YouTube, but we upload everywhere else too. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. You guys are the best.
We'll see you next week. I think we have a guest lined up for next week.
We do.
Somebody very cool, and don't want to say too much.
It's gonna be a big surprise. It's gonna be awesome.
But he's a good friend of mine and Zach's. He's a super cool dude though. So hopefully that'll. I'm not sure if we have to reschedule, of course. But thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next week. Later.